you hear sexual and gender-based violence, then it is a pointer that somebody has used their power, somebody has used their privilege to violate the rights of another person. So I'll start by explaining what we mean by sexual and gender-based violence. And very quickly, I would like to say that sexual and gender-based violence is any form or type of violence that is meted on a person due to unequal power relations between them and the perpetrator of such violence. Yani kutokuwa na usawa wa kijinsia. Yani wakati mtu anapodhulumiwa, anadhulumiwa kwa sababu yule mwingine anajiona kwamba yeye ako na uwezo zaidi ama mamlaka zaidi kuliko yule mwingine anayemdhulumu. Na mara nyingi huwa ni baina ya wanawake na wanaume. And I think kati ya wanawake na wanaume. And most of the time, and I hear Kamau came guns blazing, talking about representing the boy child. That's okay. But if we look at the figures that we've been experiencing that have been reported lately, you will realize are actually disproportionately targeted at women and children, so to speak. On the 2nd of April this year, that's last month, the Chief Justice of Kenya said that 38.5% of the cases that they are currently dealing with are cases of sexual and gender-based violence. He went on to say that unfortunately, the perpetrators of such violence are people who are known to the survivors or to the victims, close relatives, guardians, husbands, wives, and cousins, uncles, people who are supposed to be protecting their survivors, as it were. And that is very telling. That's very sad. Going further, we've heard of these cases, especially you. I don't know how many of you have heard of this Tarakaniti case, where a certain man decided to violate the wife simply because he alleges that the wife was cheating on him, and therefore he took onions, he took salt and pepper, inserted in the wife's vagina, and then actually glued it together using super glue. We also have cases like, for instance, in I wish Alfred was here, in Elukaka village, Botsoso in Kakamega County, where there was this a very young girl of 15 years was married off to a 36-year-old man. And of course, we've had cases of men also who having been killed, especially in Umoja. We had 2 cases in Umoja and all that. But by and large, if you look at the numbers that are those who are affected by sexual and gender-based violence are largely women. And that's, if you look at the people who are supposed to be protecting others are also violators. Like, for instance, in Machakos, we had a case of a 45-year-old woman. It is very sad. So now, that is sexual and gender-based violence, and it can manifest itself in 5 forms. It can be sexual violence, it could be physical violence, it could be emotional, or if you like, psychological violence. It could be economic violence, and lastly but not least, harmful traditional practices, and other people prefer to call it socio-cultural type of violence. These are FGM, child marriage, widow inheritance, infanticide, meaning killing infants simply because if you are expecting a boy and the wife brings forth a girl, so in some communities, they are actually killed. And then there's also acid throwing and such. Those are just but examples of socio-cultural harmful traditional practices. Now, coming to the issues of, when we talk about now mental health really is about people's cognitive, behavioral, or emotional well-being. Kwa njia rahisi tunasema it's psychological well-being ama absence of mental illness. And a number of things happen if somebody is violated and are at the same time stigmatized to the point of not being able to talk about that violation. And therefore, in our communities, these 2 scourges, as I will call them, go hand in hand. That sometimes when somebody has been, not sometimes, but oftentimes, when somebody has been violated, chances are they will suffer very grave mental health issues, because first and foremost, as a society, there's a acceptance of social acceptance of sexual and gender-based violence. That's SGBV. And woe unto you if you're a woman or if you're a child. The first thing that hello, can you all hear me still?
Yes,
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 we
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vizuri, eh?
Yeah.
Sawa,
Yeah.
asante sana. So nikiweza kuendelea ni kusema kwamba sisi kama jamii kwa kawaida tumekubali mambo ya dhuluma za kijinsia, hasa sana zinapowaathiri sana sana wanawake. Kwa mfano tunasema ya kwamba ukiangalia jamii mbalimbali watu hupenda kusema ya kwamba usipompiga mkeo then inamaanisha umpendi. Ama utapata ya kwamba watu wanasema, wanaanza kujiuliza maswali. People normally ask questions like, for instance, if somebody has been raped, they'll first start by asking, what kind of dress were you wearing? At what time did it happen? Where were you and with whom? And what did you do? And stuff like that. So what happens is that there's justification, there's rationalization, and even more so, there's acceptance of that vice in itself, that criminal act in itself. So over the years, it's and I like how you've framed this topic, that it is a silent epidemic. It's a silent thing that happens, but nobody seems to address. Right now, we're in the midst of the COVID-19, and in Kenya, the first COVID case was reported on the 13th of March, and you can see the attention that this is being given. We now have 1412, or is it 1421 cases up to as per today. Yet the number of cases of sexual and gender-based violence that we experience are far much outweigh those numbers. And you can see the attention that COVID-19 is being given, and not only in Kenya, but globally. You can also see if the number of people who are suffering as a result of mental health issues, how big is that number? Are they being given that attention that they need? I think nobody is paying attention to the number of health issues that we have. How many suicide cases have we had over the news, over the media? And who is paying attention to that? In comparison to the numbers that we have with the COVID-19 and the cases that are happening. Of course, we are being told since the first case was reported, there's been a spike in the number of sexual and gender-based violence cases. And yeah, this is true to some extent, based on the fact that the stresses of life, people have lost jobs, people don't have economic power anymore, and therefore sometimes those things that you used to engage in, you can no longer do them. And at a family level, sometimes you may be questioned, especially if you're a man, you'll be questioned about whether you are man enough, if you cannot cater for your family needs and all that. And therefore, that's a contributing factor. At this point in time, I would like also to just say, when you talk about sexual and gender-based violence especially, there are 3 root causes of sexual and gender-based violence. 3 root causes, and please mark this. Number 1 is gender inequality, yani kutokuwa na usawa wa kijinsia. Number 2 is abuse of power, mtu kutumia uwezo wake na mamlaka yake vibaya. Na number 3 is disrespect for human right, kutoheshimu haki za kibinadamu. Any other thing outside of that is just but a contributing factor. Unemployment, COVID-19 is a contributing factor. Alcoholism, drug abuse, drug and substance abuse, those are contributing factors. And any other thing that you may think of are bad contributing factors. But the first 3 are the root causes. Now, mental health, on the other hand, can be as a result of somebody, like we said, it is psychological well-being. It is the absence of mental illness. And remember, mental health is also the ability to be able to enjoy life. And it's also the ability to be able to create and also the psychological resilience as a person. How then, if you're not able to meet your daily needs, then that's a contributing factor or a contributor to you, towards you getting to the point of suffering a mental health issue. So over the years, and again, not only during this time of the COVID-19, we also have seen a spike in cases of mental health issues. We've seen a number of people who have taken their lives simply because they are not able to do certain things that they used to do. And these confinements and restrictions, movement restrictions, are also creating some pressures on people, and therefore people are suffering depression, post-traumatic stress disorders are on the rise, and something ought to be done. But before I even get to what I just came to this meeting to speak off the cuff, but at the same time allow people to be able to raise questions and be able to also make contributions in as far as they feel sexual and gender-based violence affects them as individuals, but also as a community or a society, and how then we can move forward. But by and large, Kama, I don't know whether you're hearing me. What I want to say is that I feel, and I still am of that school of thought, until proven otherwise, that women and children are bear the greatest brunt of sexual and gender-based violence in our community. Because majority of perpetrators, in as far as cases that are reported are concerned, have always been and still remains to be men. And at the peak of the spike that we're talking about, again, we are seeing a number of cases that are coming up that majority of those cases are men. But then I believe some people may say that is arguable based on whether men are reporting those cases or they are not reporting. But I would like somebody to school me on that. And I am very open to just hearing your sense of it. Are men violated more and all that? But I need to put a caveat on this. When you want to address issues of sexual and gender-based violence and issues of mental health issues, it is never them versus us. Because the moment we say it is men versus women, then we can never have a collective approach to ending or eradicating, or if you like, eliminating sexual and gender-based violence vis-a-vis mental health issues in our community. So let's all be of one mind that it's never them versus us. Because when we create that kind of a platform for people to argue from that point of view, then essentially there will always be contestations. And when we have contestations, then there can never be a unity of purpose. And when there's no unity of purpose, then this pandemic, as it were, will continue. And as you talk, because I'm now opening up this floor for people also to contribute, because I can see the time we need also to have a very engaging discussion, is that please remember, and you may ask yourself, what's the difference between pandemic, epidemic, and endemic? Over to you, people. Moderator. Are you still there?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. Anyone who has anything to contribute so far? Okay, I can see Shaban has raised his hand. Can you be able to unmute your mic, or I do it from my side?
Yeah, I have unmuted.
Okay.
Okay, Phil, you said that women and children tend to suffer more from the sexual and gender-based violence. You know, psychology has it that men, we express our anger or frustration physically, while women, they express their anger emotionally. So I think these alone can explain why women, when maybe they are abused, they will go, they will report, and men, in case they are abused, they will not report. Now, you will find that our society, it is kind of based in a situation whereby if a scenario where maybe a woman comes from the bush screaming that she is raped, the society will believe him or her. But if a man does the same, no one will trust him. So I think it's, to some extent, it's a two-way traffic, because in case a woman is abused, we'll ask, what kind of dress did you wear? Where were you? But then when a man comes that he was abused, it's not easy to trust him. They will be like, how how did it happen? I think it's a matter of men expressing their frustration physically, so they will tend to abuse the women physically, while we men, we are abused emotionally, but it's only that we cannot express it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yvonne also has a comment. Yvonne, go ahead.
Sure. So I just want to sit there. My own opinions are that it has nothing to do with you psychologically. It has everything to do with you socially, because how you are brought up, how you are conditioned, and how you are socialized. The moment you're told a boy should not cry, or it's fine for a girl to cry and all that, so that is how you grow up. You learn certain things from the society, from people around you. That is how you grow up, believing that if something happens to me as a man, then I should not talk about it, or I should I should curtail and hide my emotions. However, if you're a woman, then it's okay for you to do it. And I think for us, it has to do with shifting our mindset from saying this is inborn or this is ingrained in us, but rather we have to look at it from a different angle, where it's people who tell us this is right and this is wrong, which necessarily doesn't have to be the case.
Okay, thank you, Yvonne. Bella? Bella, if you can hear me.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. Okay, now, so me, I will, my comment is going to be a little bit controversial, but has a lot of facts. And
Okay.
yes, but the reality.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
So, I'm going to discuss about this thing called this issue that was brought up socially about boy child. You see, the boy child, it doesn't mean they're just boys, it means the men's side. I feel the society, especially in Kenya and Africa, has really forgotten men. And it's like we have written them off in the world when it comes to social life. We have concentrated so much in female education, female this, female that. We fight for women not to be, even when we talk about gender equality, all the focus goes to women. Then what have we done to men? Ndo wakakuja na hii slogan ya nini? Boy child lazima afanye hivi aumie. So it was a good concept to focus on bringing the girl child out from where people thought we were and bringing us up in the limelight to get education, not to stop these early marriages and people to fight for us when we get raped and all that stuff. But now, when we look at in the society, the same things are happening to the boy child. There are boys who are not going to school. They are being taken to quarries. There are people, they'll be forced to do manual things and not go to school. And then now, and they are off. It's like now they're not focused on. So what happens? These men, when they grow akijua mwanaume lazima aumie ndo apate kitu ya kukula, mwanaume hafai kulia, vitu kama hizo, mwanaume ni kujitegemea, mwanaume ni kufanya all these things, you see. And now look at our society. We have many organizations that are fighting for women, and there are no organizations that are fighting for what? For men. For example, there's always this I work in the medical side and I work in theater. So every year, Aga Khan has these reconstructive surgeries. Reconstructive surgeries ni plastic surgeries. Okay, plastic si lazima uongeze boobs, butts, facial, nose, mouth, hapana. Kuna vitu, there are these people who are banned. Alafu, management haiku ipe unapata, mkono imeshikana, shingo imeshikana. So we release those things. They are called contractures. But now these things are only done for female. So they come like this. Our Zungu and the Kenyans who are supporting in Aga Khan, they come with this slogan of reconstructive surgery for women and girls. You see, that doesn't mean that there are no boys or men who are burnt and they have contractures. So what tumefanya nini? We've left that man or a guy who has this contracture, and there's no lady who wants to have a guy who has a face that is attached to the chest. But now such person akikuja kwa this hospital to come for those surgeries, they'll be told it is for women and girls. You see, so at one way, I don't know how. It's going to be hard, but if there's a way that whatever that was being done to the girl child, if it's done to the boy child, it could have bring equality. You know, if you would give men that voice to voice out their agonies, those who are beaten at home, there are people who are beaten, there are people who are chopped, their engines, those things, you see, they can voice themselves out. We see these things, may see these things in theater where there is domestic violence, someone has been done something down there, and we are brought there, anatengenezwa na anarudi home, and it's not a police case. But if a woman comes, they are lawyers, they are police, etc. So that's how I was coming in controversially. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Phil, can you
Oh.
respond maybe to the first three comments? Then I'll
Yes.
allow Sirkal and someone else to also air out their comments and views.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, colleagues, for these very wonderful and very noble, sentiments that have been put across. Let me start with Shaban. Shaban, you to the fact, but I think I will just add to what Yvonne actually started by saying. We must really be very careful about how we were socially socialized. In fact, Yvonne ended by saying we need to shift our mindsets about how some of these things were taught to us. So I want to tell Shaban, what you learned can be unlearned, and you can pick up some new things based on the kind of environment where you are in, and especially these times. So if you are told that, and Bella also alluded to something about men should not cry. And I think for those of you who are Christians, if you say men should not cry, then you should read your Bible. The shortest verse in the Bible tells you Jesus wept. And if you're a follower of Jesus and you say you can't cry, then I wonder what kind of a Christian you are. So that's the shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. Now, coming back to Shaban. Shaban, I think it's not about men being able to express themselves physically. But I think, remember what I said, one of the root causes of violence is abuse of power. That physical expression of violence is actually abusing your power. You as a man, you see yourself to be in a position where probably you are masculine and you think you can just beat your wife, because for the men who are beaten by their wives, it's simply because they probably are not masculine, or their women also feel they're powerful than them. And therefore that's an issue that we have to address. So if women express themselves emotionally, then what that tells us is that as men, we need to start coming out and be able to talk. Because remember, we are talking about SGBV and mental health issues. If you look at the number of cases of men who have committed suicide, it's higher than the women. While at the same time, it is said that many more women have attempted to commit suicide, but they've never succeeded in it. But men, when they try, they always go full throttle all the way. So the number of victims in as far as suicide is concerned probably tends to be on the side of the men. That much is scientifically proven. But I would like to dwell more on shifting the mindset, and that, thank you so much, Yvonne, for bringing that up, because that's where we ought to be. Now, Bella, the reason why organizations, individuals, institutions, governments, and everybody else have over the years concentrated on women is simply because we want to address that which is called historical injustices. And for us to be able to address historical injustices, first of all, there must be an issue of recognition. We must recognize the cohort or the group of people that have suffered some form or type of violence or some type of misfortunes over the years. Then once we've recognized, then we need redress. Redress, or if you like, to address those issues, nikiweka kwa njia rahisi, ya tuweze kuzitambua, akisha tunafanya nini kuzishughulikia hayo maneno. Then the other one that we must do is redistribution of resources, because over the years, and resources here does not only mean financial resources, but it means even the efforts that we put forth in addressing issues of sexual and gender-based violence. And then lastly, issue of representation. Over the years, and it's a given, if we look at the situation right now, there's no way. I remember just the other day, we were up in arms that Nairobi Hospital had a board with 8 men sitting in the board of Nairobi Hospital, and then they're discussing sanitary towels. Can you tell me how does that work? Yeah, how will men know? Yeah, issues to do with sanitary. A lot of them don't even know what cramping is. So you say the word cramp, they think you are talking of clamping for the furniture thing.
So, but
yeah, and therefore, just a moment, let me finish, and then I'm just about to give it to you. But I want also to say that we must be able to prioritize our issues. And remember what I said, that it's never an issue of them versus us. And when you talk about, Bella, especially when you talk about issues of the reconstructive surgery that is being done to women and girls, yes, I understand to a great extent that sometimes there's that which is called positive discrimination, based on those who are felt to have suffered more in terms of, like what I said, the historical injustices and stuff like that. But by and large, and I saw somebody also put something there, that we also need to talk about issues of equality and equity. And that those are two different terms. Equity is the means to equality, meaning equality is similarity in treatment. That if you're a man, if you're a woman, we need to be treated the same, without looking as human beings. We may never be the same, but we are both human beings, man and woman, we are human beings, and therefore we need to be treated similarly. But equity is fairness. Ama tunaweza tukasema it's a fair and a just distribution of resources based on a given framework. Meaning, just like I give an example of Nairobi and Turkana, where do we need to put more resources? Somebody will tell me Turkana because it is underdeveloped, but somebody will also say it's Nairobi because that's the center or the hub of the nation, and things like that. Just like when we have one person who is more built and the other one is smaller, if you have a material which is, say, 8 meters, how do you divide that? You cannot give them 4-4 because one will feel they've not been fairly treated. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think coming back to what Bella's called controversial, I understand that, yes, we have so many organizations that are addressing issues of women and girls, but then that is formed by the fact that over the years, women have suffered what is commonly referred to as historical injustices. And that can also be attested to. Look at our parliament, for instance. How many women do we have in our leadership positions? Yeah, in parliament, in Senate, we only have 3 senators out of 47. Actually, now there are 2 because one passed on. So those are the issues that we deal with. But remember, when we are doing this, how we want everybody to be at par, to be able to realize their full potential, to live to realize their full potential, men and women. And therefore, every initiative, interventions that are put forth are really not meant to say that men are bad, as it were, but rather just to bring women at par with men. Okay, I'll take some more. Hello?
Yes, there's someone who's commented and say, I think most men, when beaten by their wives, they tend to keep quiet because of culture and the society. How will people react after hearing the incident? I think we should have a balanced empowerment. And someone else
Yeah.
also agrees with Yvonne. I agree with Yvonne that it's a matter of shifting our mindset. I think that if you have been conditioned in a certain way, you tend to think in that same direction and you lack open-mindedness. So
Yeah. So Jolly, if I may just add to what that person has said. Remember, the socialization is the greatest undoing that we've ever had, in the sense that people tend to none of us, maybe including myself, when I'm doing certain things, at what point in time do I do what I want to do? What is that norm, the social norm that has been created? So when I behave, I'm conditioned to behave in a certain way because that's what the society expects. At what point in time do you do it because you want to do it? It's the same way that when you're about to like ask questions about culture, people tend to say hiyo ni mila yetu, and when they talk about hiyo ni mila yetu, it's normally about the things that it's the negative stuff that they subscribe to, but the positive ones they don't want to. Because for instance, if you're a Jango, why is it that muliacha kunyoa watu nywele watu wengine wakikufa? Sio pia ilikuwa mila yenyu? Kwa nini muliacha kung'oa meno sita? Kwa nini siku hizi watu so there are those aspects of culture that we can really remove but remain with the positive, because culture again, mwacha mila vile wanavyosema Waswahili, mwacha mila ni mtumwa, lakini kuna mila nyingine ambazo lazima tuyaache ili tuweze kusonga mbele, kwa sababu pia lazima tusonge na wakati. We cannot remain stagnated in the days of the yore. We must look forward and be able to do things right. Yes.
okay, thank you. I can see some more people joined us. Karibu Robert, Tindi, Moses Baraza, Dorothy, karibuni nyote. Kama nimesahau mtu, you'll have to bear with me. So, Sirkal also had a point to raise. Then after Sirkal, Owiti will go next, then Edwin. So Sirkal, if you can hear me.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear loud and clear.
Okay, so my concern is from your discussion, it is very clear that you're saying this should not be tackled from a point of us versus them. But I feel by so doing, we are running away from the real problem, because from the onset, it is gender-based. So there's obviously going to be this gender versus this gender. Because I feel like when we say we should not tackle it from that angle of this versus those, it's like we are running away from feelings like we will victimize one gender, but in real sense, we cannot get the best solution. You cannot obtain an optimal solution to gender-based violence with a wrong problem identification. So I still think what Bella has raised it's still a major concern, because at the end of the day, we must come to this gender versus this gender because it's gender-based. So we should not run away from it. That's according to my thinking. Instead, we should see how best we can tackle these two genders instead of just looking at it from the general perspective. By so doing, you're not really tackling the main problem.
Okay. Thank you for that. Powerful. I can take two more, Jolly. Hello.
Oh wait, sorry, I had muted my microphone. Oh wait, if you can go next, kindly. Elvis, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Hello, go ahead with your comments, questions.
Elvis, we can hear you. Go ahead. Okay, before we get him back, Edwin, you can.
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Hello?
Yes, we can. We can.
Oh, I wanted to speak about this historical recognition about how people are speaking about how women have been neglected for ages, and that's now how people are basing their content on mental health and speaking out about women more than boys. But in real sense, boys in this new generation are suffering too because of emotional gender-based violence. In that, do you think that it is unbalanced on how women are given more attention than boys, and that later prompts it does not? Do you think that it will be more effective to address gender-based violence simultaneously, because it seems that boys are being neglected?
Okay. Thank you, Elvis, for that. We'll respond.
Collins and
We can
Raymond.
take another one. Yeah.
Okay, Collins and Raymond also had some issues to raise. I don't know if you'll allow them to raise them now, or you respond first to the first.
Let me get. I want to get to Kama. I want to get to him because I know what's coming. So yeah. So let's get Collins first, and then we'll go there. Okay. Collins.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, tunakusikia Collins.
Hi. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And what I would like to say is we are in the midst of a pandemic, and one way that the government has tried to slow down this spread is through the implementation of, I can't call it a lockdown, it's not a cessation, and a quarantine measure. But then this means confining ourselves, which can also include our abusers. And it is so prevalent right now. A lot of things are happening. Many times in our daily lives, it can be very hard to be who we are. We feel safer when we don't stand out. We are safe in a group. Mi naongelea sahi, nafikiria kama kijana. We are very safe in a group where we know that we share the same ideas and opinions. And most of the time, this is very, very fine. That is fine. But there are times when we are in a situation where someone is saying or doing something that really strikes us wrong. For example, a friend is talking about how he touched a tattoo. What do others do? So, sisi, we think that it's uncool, but we do not know what to say. Hatujui ni nini tutafanya. That is where these things start from. Very simple things that we all think it's normal, but it's not normal. So we stay silent and let the bad words or deeds happen. Sometimes we will change ourselves and our opinions so we can stand with everyone else. It's very hard to stand alone. Na mimi hakuna mtu anaweza pinga. Many of us, no one wants to stand alone for what he or she believes in. Now let me talk about issues of gender. I've heard Owiti talk about gender and serikal. Gender is what the society or the culture says is masculine or feminine. Venye chali anafaa kukua ama dem. Usually it gives males what we think of as a positive and strong, and women as negative, meaning weak and stupid. Let me say that. Let me give an example of gender. Men are to be strong and know what to do. Hiyo ni kitu kila mtu anakuanga naambiwa. You are strong and you know what to do in that situation, which never works. Now, this brings about power imbalances, which often leads to situations of unfairness. And I'm very happy, Mr. Phil, you're here, and you talked about one type that is called abuse of power. Where do these things come from? Gender issues, power imbalances. No one likes to be disrespected. We're going to be looking at this closely as we continue the discussion, but I think when you were even discussing, when you were starting the discussion, what is it that is happening in umoja? Kwa nini mtu alidungwa kisu anakuja kudedi hapo mbele ya watu? Juzi mkisi mwingine mama tu Aboloyang, a very very crazy woman. Is crazy, she's crazy. Anarusha hadi miguu, anaambia bwana yake venye anaweza mchapa na mrarue. Bwana naye amesema I will not touch you. Mimi sitakuguza. So there are many types of relationships right now in which one person might have more power over the other. And this is where things start going wrong. Unequal power balances between men and women, even in sexual relationships, trust you me, can have very serious repercussions. For example, a woman often does not have the power to say if, when, and how sex takes place, including whether a condom can be used in issues of sex, because of long-standing beliefs that men should be active in sexual matters and women should be passive, or that women owe sex to men. And this is where shida inaanza kutokea. Msichana akikataa this, I don't need this. Mwanaume anaona no, I need it. This is where everything starts from. In other cases, a woman who is dependent on a male partner for financial support might feel that she does not have the power to say no to sex. In cases of, let's say, cross-generational sex, the age and class differences I know you will, utatusaidia sana kwa hii. In the cases of those cross-generational sex, the age and class differences between men and women can further create unequal power relations that can lead to risk situations. Mama kama ndiye anafanya kazi na mwanaume hafanyi kazi na amekaa kwa nyumba, how will this man feel? These are some of the examples that ukianza kuangalia, this is where issues of violence starts from. As I finish, there are many examples of those power relationships in our lives and communities. Think of relationship between youth and adult, students and teachers, very normal things, employees and bosses. Sometimes the power imbalance in this relationship can lead one person to treat another like an object. Wewe unaniambia nini? As we continue discussing these, it is important to remember that connection between how you might feel oppressed wakati umekanyagiliwa or treated like objects, and in some other relationships, how you in turn might treat others, including women, like objects. These are things that we really need to think about. Ukifanyiwa utafurahi wakati unafanyiwa mwingine. So let's think about these connections. These things can help us motivate us into constructing a more 50-50 relationship, both men and women, girls and boys, in our homes, schools, and communities. That was just my general sharing.
Okay, Phil,
Thank
before
you
you
so
respond, before you respond, there's someone who commented, like, I think men stay quiet because they think they will be taken as being weak because they are beaten by their wife. The society is to be blamed here, and people need to be educated and informed on such issues. Then someone else asked, on reporting, were gender offices from gender desks in police stations established?
Okay. So can I go on?
Yes, you can go. Then Raymond and Moses Baraza will come in next.
All right. So very great contributions. I'm loving this, and I've started thinking that the time that we have to have this discussion is actually really short. But however, I like every person who has contributed, including those who are sending the texts, are doing a great job. Now, let me start by what Elvis brought forth. Elvis talked of women. Let me start by Sirkal. Sirkal brought a very good, discussion when he talked of whether or not we need to look at this separately, or whether we need not to say them versus us. And I need to clarify what I meant by that. Over time, when we talk about issues of gender, remember, when we talk about gender, first and foremost, maybe we should have started by defining what gender is. Gender is not actually a man and a woman, so to speak. Gender is defined. Gender is defined that one is assigned by virtue of being a member of a given or a particular community. So ni zile kazi ama majukumu ambazo mtu anafanya, anapewa kwa sababu yeye ni mmoja ama ako katika jamii fulani. Kwa vile kwa mfano tukisema tunapozungumzia mambo ya upishi, utasikia kwamba katika jamii fulani wanawake ndio wanapika, katika jamii fulani ni wanaume ndio wanapika. So gender ni majukumu, roles and responsibilities. Ama tunaweza sema kwa kizungu social constructs. Yeah, so it has nothing to do with you being a man or a woman, so to speak. But when you talk about sex, sex is about female, male or female, or intersex. Yeah, and the moment we are normally assigned different roles based on our sexual organs. The first moment when you are born, wanaona, if they see the penis, they say this is a boy, and from that moment on they start treating you differently. If you go to the Kikuyus, that ululation, when they wanapiga ile wanaita ngemi, they do it 5 times for a boy, they do it four times for a girl. If you go to the Jangos, the Luos, if a girl is born, anawekwa kwa nyumba siku 3 alafu anatolewa nje. Hata kama siku hizi akitolewa hospitali, akikuja kwa nyumba ile ambapo wanakaa, baada ataka siku 3 alafu anatolewa hapo nje ya mlango, kutajua baada ya siku 3. Kama ni mwanamume, siku 4. And that also has a connotation. Most people don't know what that is, because for those, mwanadada anatolewa, huo msichana anatolewa nje baada ya siku 3, kwa sababu yeye, hiyo ni ishara ya kumwambia wewe utaendanga juu. Mwanamume ni siku 4, kwa sababu yeye ni wa kukaa, wewe utabaki tu hapa. So already that socialization, it starts even at infancy. There are certain things that have already started to be shown. For Kyuks, wanasema ni ile kukua leader and stuff like that. And probably they also say a girl is weak. Ukipiga zile ngemi mara 5, anaweza rudi mali ametoka, stuff like that. So please understand that gender have the roles and responsibilities, but when it comes to issues of sex, is universal. So a female in Kenya is the same as a female in Australia, in Ghana, in Mozambique, wherever, all over the world. But in terms of gender, it differs from one community to the next, meaning that the roles and responsibilities that we do are different. Like, for instance, again, a quick example, the Maasais, when they're building the manyatta, zile nyumba za udongo, utapata ya kwamba ni wanawake ndio wanazijenga rather. Na kama ni ile nyumba permanent ya mawe, unapata ni wanaume wanajenga. Pia ina ishara ya kwamba mwanamume ni mtu ambaye ana nguvu, ni strong and is permanent. For a woman, ile nyumba ya udongo, ile manyatta ni temporary. Kwa hivyo mwanamke ni mtu ambaye anaweza fagiliwa. Already those notions are implanted in those people's minds and all those kind of things. So when we talk about gender, I want us not to leave this meeting without really understanding the fact that it is issues to do with roles and responsibilities that we are assigned, not the things that we want to do. And I want you, colleagues, to start asking yourself every time that you do certain things, do you do it for yourself or do you do it for other people? Because that's where the problem is. So, and when you say wrong, we need to identify, because it's based on gender. I think, remember the fact that gender is a social construct, meaning inatengenezwa na jamii. Kwa hivyo katika ile hali ambayo tunazungumzia mambo za kijinsia, tunasema ya kwamba jamii fulani wameamua kufanya mambo yao kwa njia fulani. Hivyo basi wanasema ya kwamba wanawake waende shambani ama wanaume waende wakafanye mambo zile ambazo tunasema ambazo zinaleta pesa na mambo kama yale. And I agree with if I go forward to what Kolo said, I agree that when a man is looked as a provider and is incapacitated, is not in a position to provide, that in itself can cause mental health issue, because utaanza kujidharau, utaanza kuona mimi si mwanamume kamilifu, unaelewa? Na hiyo ni shida. Na apparently when men feel that way, they take it on to women. So unasikia tu hata mwanamke hajamuonyesha na mdharau, lakini anaanza unanidharau kwa sababu wewe ndio unalipa nyumba, unanidharau kwa sababu wewe ndio, na pengine hata hajaonyesha zile ishara za kwamba anamdharau na mambo kama yale. Now, historical injustices, like Elvis talked about, whether we can address them simultaneously. And I'm saying, yes, we can. Why not? We can address these issues together and say, we are human beings, first and foremost. Yeah? If you subscribe to the belief that you are created by God, then God created both male and female. In Islam, if you read the chapter 42, verse 49, it says, male and female, he created them. If you read the book of Genesis, chapter 2, chapter 1, verse 27, it says, male and female, he created them. And therefore, there's no, remember the word that is used there, male and female, he created them. It didn't say man and woman, gender and all that. But when Adam saw Eve, for those who are of the Christian persuasion, alisema, flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone, she shall be called woman. And if you look at that chapter, uangalia hata Biblia yako, utapata kwamba hiyo woman kama itakuwa imeandikwa in bold, itakuwa imeandikwa in italics, meaning alipatia uzito fulani na mambo kama yale. So let's go back to the issues of gender and understand that it is something that the society creates and all that. Kolo, I want to thank you so much for really helping this discussion move forward. But by and large, on adding to the issues that you said, at the risk of sounding like I want to Kolo explain, meaning to explain what Kolo has said, I think it all boils down to the issues of attitude, individual attitude. That because when you talk about the society, what is the society, or what is this that's referred to as a society? It is the coming together of individuals that forms the society, isn't it? And therefore, it starts from an individual, gets to institutional, then it gets to ideological, and that ideological point of view, which is at the highest point, is what forms the culture that we subscribe to, that now again start to trickle down back to the individual. So we must deal with the individual. It starts with your attitude. And by the way, that word attitude, ukiandika chini, all those letters zina add up to 100. Yeah? 100, meaning if you change your attitude, you change 100% the person that you are. Kwa Kiswahili inaitwa mtazamo. So ukibadilisha mtazamo wako, then utaanza kuangalia mambo kivingine, na utaangalia ya kwamba ikiwa nazungumza na mwanamke, nazungumza na yeye kwa sababu yeye ni binadamu kama mimi, sio eti kwa sababu yeye ako jinsi fulani ama ameumbwa mambo fulani. And Kolo, I just want to emphasize the issues that you raised with regards to even issues of negotiating for sex, for instance, whether a woman can even, like unapata madem ambao mko hapa kwenye hii space, kwa hii meeting ambao tuko nao kwa sasa, how many of them? Yeah?
Kindly repeat your question, umepotea.
Hello?
Ulipotea kidogo. Ulipotea.
Rudia swali.
Tuulize swali tena.
Nitampatia moderator aweze kuuliza swali, lakini niweze kusema ya kwamba tunapozungumzia jamii inatengenezwa na mtu mmoja ambaye anakutana na mwingine, kisha wale wawili, watatu, wanne wanatengeneza jamii. Kwa hivyo we can never say it's the society, and I constantly like to point it that it's always the individual that we need to deal with, but that individual must be framed from a point of looking at what the ideologies have been instilled in their heads coming down. So the issues of unequal power relations is something that is sanctioned by the society. Jamii yani imekubali. Yeah? Kwa hivyo yule mtu anafanya mambo fulani ili aweze kufit in. That fitting in is also the problem. So if you are an individual, ask yourself, how many times do you want to stand out of the crowd rather than being part of the crowd and do the things that everybody else is doing and going with the flow? It's normally said, do not be conformed to the aspirations and the desires and the actions of other people, but rather be transformed in your thinking and in your mindset and do things differently as you would like to do them. Because some people just do things like, forgive the word I'm about to drop, like condole. Ingine kivuka barabara, pia yanavuka barabara. We are human beings. We are given conscience, and therefore we must be able to decide on our own. And this is the reason why, if you commit a crime, even if you are 10 people, you go to court, hawatasema nyinyi watu 10 mnasukumwa ndani kwa miaka 10. No, wataanza Kolo, wewe miaka 10 kwa sababu umefanya hivi na hivi. Kama kila mtu anapewa kwa sababu they believe you had the power to say no, you had the power to resist, you had the power not to engage. Yeah, so it's an individual, and therefore don't do things to want to look good. Do things because they are right. Do things because you want to transform the society, and in that transformation, then you make the world a better place for all of us, men and women, to live in, to thrive, and to realize their full potential. I now want to hear Kama and
Moses Baraza.
And Moses Baraza. Bring it on.
So Kama will go first, then Moses.
I hope I am audible. So
yes,
I want to
keep
this
very audible.
very sweet. Very short and very sweet.
Go ahead.
Number one, we need to first of all do mambo equality, mambo equity meguzwa. So number one, what are we after? Are we after equality of outcome or equality of opportunity? because approaches are different when you go towards whichever one, and the two approaches can never come and be together, because of opportunity of outcome is about how many the can everybody access what needs to be accessed. Okay, tunaendelea. So mambo ya elections nimesikia ikiguzwa. Man, we have a lot of women voters, like more than men. Sawa sawa. So kwa nini wanawake hawa elect wanawake wenzao? So this thing is much deeper and maybe needs to be looked at much deeper than just hapa juu kusema, oh, we need more women, but we still have very many women voters huku kando ambao as voting men. So is it about wanaume, or is it about women having with representation that men bring? Sana sana nitaguza maneno ya women reps. I want somebody to tell me what they have done hiyo time yote wamekuwa parliament. Anyway, tukiendelea, who is the primary agent of socialization? It is the woman. It is the mother. That's the first person who starts to socialize a child. Sawa sawa. So now if you are looking at agents of socialization, women play a pivotal and primary role into socializing this boy not to cry, and socializing this girl that she's supposed to be at home and not go to work. Tukiendelea.
Sorry,
Yes.
Kamau. On this one, I would like to respond immediately.
Yes.
If you allow me, a quick one.
So,
when you talk about
women, socialization.
Yes, this one, the socialization,
Okay.
a quick one. When you talk about women being the first agents of socialization, I would like you to remember they are also the agents of the societal norms that are passed on, meaning those norms that have been created and constructed that they pass on, and through those beliefs that have been passed on over time. Remember, when we talk about socialization, we talk about the society socially constructs, it is justified, it is maintained, then it is perpetuated. So women are part of the perpetuation, are part of the carry forward of those things based on what they too have been taught, based on the patriarchal nature of our society. But at the same time, I'll give you a very typical example that is happening right now in our political scene, where if you are a Jubilee member and you don't subscribe to what Jubilee subscribe to, what happens to you? You're hacked, isn't it? Or you're removed from the committees, or you're removed from a certain position. So that using that analogy, it's the same thing that women are doing, because they are expected to behave in a certain way, and therefore that's what they're going to do to be able to align and to be seen to play the ball. If they don't, then something will happen to them. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much for raising that. I like to propose a rebuttal, not just a rebuttal, like to just take the conversation further. We have had women empowerment for about 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 decades. No, not for the last 100 years, but I think for more than 20 years. And if we are telling women we need, and mostly this issue is targeting men, and or telling women this is what men are doing most of the time. However, I think we also need to turn the spotlight to women and say, this is what you women are doing. Like your daughter is being beaten up by somebody's boy because you are raising your boy to beat up somebody's daughter. Unaget mali nasema. Unaget. That's why nimesema nakuja tu kumulika hapo hivi kutanio spotlight mahali penye haifiki. Nimefika mahali sipendi affirmative action because it is discrimination, although wanaisema ni positive. There is nothing positive about discrimination. So although I think that is just said because of course it is discrimination, but they want to put a positive spin towards it. Although affirmative action should be temporary, so we need to be informed when itaisha, so that we look forward to mahali boy child ataanza kupata zile opportunities ambazo girls are being given on mahali anaumia akiumizwa, wanapewa. So for me, I think equality is about getting everybody, giving everybody the opportunity to be the best they can be. But then affirmative action, I know kuna historical injustices, but then these historical injustices, when are we going to start dealing with the injustices of today if every day tunaangalia zile vitu zilifanyika 100 years back? That means 100 years from today, people will be dealing with what is happening like 100 years from today. Tunafanyika sasa. When are we going to start dealing with today's injustices? Anyway, tukiendelea. We are saying we
remember the time.
Nakimbia, naguzaguza. We have said that boys need to start showing emotions and everything. All stories are being physical and everything. But remember, we are animals. Girls are attracted to people who are that kind. So, you know, for you to get a wife needs to feel that akona mwanaume kwa nyumba. If you are that person,
that's an assumption. That's
no, it's not an assumption, man. So yes, they will tell you that at least anataka mtu, for example, natembea na demu yako kwa street akiguzwa bat, who will she turn to? Atageuka like, man, respond. Una get? But sasa akiguzwa alafu unatoroka, what happens? Una lose girlfriend. Tukiendelea. I think it is about perception. Collins raised a very important point that if a woman is working and a man is not working, what is the man feeling? How is this? How will he react? I want to flip it. What about the woman who is working? How ataona mwanaume wake akikaaji? I mean, I had a discussion with a few girls and they said, nitalipa mwezi moja rent, mwezi wa pili, mwezi wa tatu boss utafute tu nyumba yako. So let us also be responsive to the community yenye tunaishi, and yes, tukiendelea. Thank you very much for this.
Wow.
Okay, wonderful. Phil, before you respond, I think we can tunaweza extend kidogo, but before you proceed on, Moses, Yvonne and Nelly can raise their issues, and also Edwin, so that you respond mara moja, and then we have a way forward. So Moses,
okay,
then
fine.
Edwin, ask your question, then Nelly and Yvonne had comments to make. So Moses, the floor is yours. Moses Baraza. Musa.
Hello.
Musa uko wapi? I think amepotea kidogo. So Edwin, you can ask your question.
Sasa hivi mnanisikia?
Tunakupata.
So Phil, kuna time ukiongea uliguzia story ya ghetto, hiyo story ya GBV. Ghetto utapata na dema anakuambia mtu wangu asiponipiga nipendi, ama chali fulani anasema asipopiga mtu wake, ama story vitu kama hizo zenye zinaendana na GBV zisipo happen hawapendani. Sasa hiyo tunaikategorize wapi na inafikaje, tunafanyaje, tuna eradicate vitu kama hizo kwa mtaa? Bado si inafuata under GBV na inaumiza.
Kweli kabisa, na nafikiri tutazungumzia wakati tunapeana way forward, lakini pia kwa kidogo tutaigusia tu, nitajibu. Sawa, asante Edwin.
Okay, Yvonne, you can make your comment, then Nelly Mukuha.
Mi kwanza chake kama so I just have some comments for you. First and foremost, I think unaongea na double standard. Mara unasema women wanakuwa favored, on the other hand unasema they are not being favored. So anyway, so what I would like to comment is that affirmative action will continue. We can't have a deadline and say this is going to happen. In my own opinion, this is going to end next year. Because one, historical injustices zimekuwa hapo from site for 2020. And like you've said, 20 years ago is when maybe affirmative action ilianza. So imagine all thousands of years until now. You can't just undo something once and for all and say, okay, next week itakuwa imeisha. it takes time for people to, you know, people to unlearn what they were taught, because it's something that is being passed. And on the other hand, I agree with you, we need to do resocialization for both genders, so that what would do, if you only focus on the girl child and leave out the boy child, then that is going to be problematic. And the interventions definitely are going to be different. They won't be the same. So history, if we're me versus them, it should not be there. I think what we should be championing for is history. That is why I raised what is equity and what is equality. Ukiongea juu equality, then we are sort of like doomed. But if you talk about equity, then it tends to look at fairness in terms of common resources and other things, and ensure that the other person who is, you know, marginalized and related to that, at least to a certain level, with the other person. So I guess the affirmative action inafaa kuendelea. Na personally, I don't think it should be a competition between men, women, transgender, and all that. Anyway, those are my 2 pieces.
Okay,
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you.
Okay. Nelly, go next. I can see Musa is back. So after Nelly, you address us, then Musa will continue. Then Phil, now you'll take over. Nelly Mukuha, if you can hear me.
So I wanted to pose a question and ask Phil, what are the consequences of a woman who seeks to pursue her own, you know, interests and ambitions and all these things, the good things in life? How does society see this particular woman? Because in the male context, we are seen as feminists, and we may not be feminists because some of us do not probably advocate for that particular philosophy because of the way that it has, you know, continued to seem that they are against, or they are particularly hurt. They have been, it has some connotations of that they have been hurt somewhere in life by particular probably male figures in their lives that existed, and that's why the movement is very strong in today's times. But what of a woman who is looking to pursue her own interests and desires, and at the same time uphold the notions of wanting to have a family and all these things? Because I think unless you find a progressive male who is for this particular vision that you also uphold, it is very rare to find one that is like, you know what, she also has her own desires and I have my own, but together we can come together and reach to a particular place. Because you find so many people they get to be pushed behind by cultural traditions and customs and things like that, and it's tedious to have to see someone who is always probably under the influence of the peer pressure or the societal type of you know, the implicit whatever it is that rules that are there and the customs of how a male should behave. And I'm happy that Yvonne mentioned also that historical injustices happened way a long time ago, and right now, whatever number of decades that have continued to like empower women have just started juicy. So I don't understand the you know, the defense or the resistance that is coming from the guys. Instead of seeing this thing as a progressive thing so that it can take us to the next level, they choose to see it as women should remain in the kitchen and raising the kids and doing all sorts of things. But you undermine the fact that if she is in an environment that advocates for, you know, education and the right type of education, I'm not saying the type that ati sasa the male species do not exist in your life, or they do not contribute, or you are stronger than them. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, if they get the good type of education, they can team up and build something better for a better future, and not the type that we are seeing right now that is filled with chaos and hurt. So maybe to just clarify first is what are the repercussions and the consequences of this woman who pursues her own vision and her own dreams because she has been given that education.
Nelly, umepotea. Nelly. Okay, I think Nelly amepotea mahali. Aha, so Musa.
Oh yes. Now I'm trying to like hear everyone speak. Sorry, I have a little bit of network problem here, but everyone is looking at it as if the boy child is neglected. But to my opinion, I can say we base everything on the upbringing of the child, both the male and the female, of course. For example, give it a case scenario where mtoto amezaliwa, the baba is not there, for example. Then amelelewa na mama all through. Yeah, maybe baba amepotea ama kushughuli za kikazi nje. Yeah, how do you expect mtoto aendelee ku grow ama aendelee kijua penye life iko? Yeah, and what there is.
Jolly,
Tumepoteza Musa kidogo. I think his network is
umemute ama
bad.
amepotea?
Amepotea. So Phil, you can respond to that as we have a way forward because time inaisha.
Yeah, of course. Very quickly, I think this has, again, I cannot stop saying how fruitful this has been. But I must say, let me now go to what Kamau was raising, especially about whether or not we need to talk about issues of gender equality and ama tuongelee mambo ya equity. And I think I said when I was defining equality, I said equality is similarity in treatment, just being treated as a human being without really looking at your gender or your sex and stuff like that. But I said equity is the fairness and justice, yeah, when it comes to distribution of resources. And equity is normally done within a given framework. We look at those who have been isolated or have been disempowered and then look at what we need to do to them to be able to raise them to a certain level, to a certain degree. Now, there's something that Kamal also raised about women voters, and we have more women voters. During electioneering period, we've experienced cases of violence where women have been beaten or battered, if you like, because they perhaps voted somebody that their husbands didn't want them to vote to, notwithstanding the fact that they go to the ballot, the mark on the ballot paper alone, but they are directed on who to vote for and stuff like that. And when you look at the campaigns, the bias campaigns that we normally have during electioneering period, that women, the first thing that happens to a woman when you want to vie for a position, they ask how many boyfriends or husbands that you've had in the past, how many abortions that you procured, where do you come from. They look at so many things. But for a man, it's different. It's normally different. They don't look at how many girlfriends you've had, how many girls you've impregnated, they don't look at those things. And in fact, even if they were to look at them, they do so positively, in quotes, meaning, unaonekana jogo, we ni jogo, and stuff like that. And for a woman, that's a malaya that we can no longer vote for. So we have this bias or prejudice when it comes to women that we also need to deal with. And that's why I said when we talk about issues of addressing some of these inequalities, we need to look at issues of the 4 R's of shifting, of changing practice, 4 R's of changing practice. That is recognition, recognizing the problem, redress, which is to address that problem, issues of redistribution of resources and how we conduct ourselves. And lastly, I talked of issues of representation. We must be at the table. Women should not be part of the menu, but rather at the table where that menu is designed. And we can also go and give the 4 powers of shifting, the 4 P's rather of shifting power. And that comes with issues of priorities. What do we prioritize? What do we want to deal with first? And I think even as I'm talking about this could be the way forward, things that we need to look at. Issues of priorities, issues of partners. Who do we need to engage with? The people that we need to involve even as we move forward. Then the processes, what kind of measures, the steps, the interventions, the initiatives that we need to put in place to be able to address these issues. And of course, the last P is on participation. It requires all of us to participate and to be part and parcel of the kind of world that we want to create for ourselves. Now, then, and in that spirit, lately there's this dogma that has come, the new message that do no harm as a principle. And then there's also another principles of leave no one behind. We don't want to leave anybody behind. We want to move with everybody else. We don't want to leave women behind. We don't want to leave the boy child behind. We don't want to leave the... So right now in this global space and this time, we are talking about leaving no one behind. And I think that principle alone speaks largely about changing the mind shift and moving together and with everybody else going forward. Now, affirmative action, like even Kamau alluded to this, and Yvonne, we talked of affirmative action as a temporary measure. And let me go ahead and actually find this. Affirmative action is temporary, legislative, administrative, or programmatic measures that are put in place to address historical injustices, and it is temporary. And Yvonne alluded to the fact that it doesn't have a timeline. And unfortunately, Yvonne, for Kenya, we have a timeline. Even in our constitution, we had a timeline of 20 years for the affirmative action. I think maybe it's in the 5th schedule of our constitution. So we have a timeline for when we want to see certain things to happen. And the question that Kamau raised about what has the women reps been able to do? Women reps represent a whole county. And do you know how much money they are given? They are given not even a quarter of what a member of parliament, which represents a sub-county, is given. So what do you expect this person to do, or this woman to do? Yeah. So if she's given, like I know in Nairobi, for instance, they were given in the last financial year, they were given 56 million. While in this other, the MP is given 200+ million to be able to dispense. How do you expect this person to engage? So it is like we set up the women reps, yeah, for some kind of backlash in the sense that we wanted them to fail in their own way. Now, I think that has been well articulated by Yvonne again, and Nelly also somehow touched on that. And issues of resocialization, how we need to resocialize men and women. And we must start from the boy, we must start from the girl, how we socialize them to become women in the long run and men in the long run. Nelly, consequences of a woman pursuing her dreams. And I think obviously, yes, the society, there will be a backlash. Yeah, there will be a backlash in terms of unaonekana wewe ni kichwa ngumu, umemea pembe, unafaa kukatwa hizo pembe na mambo kama yale. But I think those are the perceptions that we need to change, so that when a woman is going forward and doing certain things that are progressive, they're working towards thriving, towards realizing their potential. They need support, they need that backup, and we need to deal with them. And you also raise the issues of feminists, and you don't subscribe to it. How I wish you can subscribe to feminism, because feminism is a social movement of those who believe in gender equality or in equality of the sexes. Actually, not even gender, let me say equality of the sexes. And feminist is that person, it's the individual who believes in that equality of the sexes. So the only problem that we've had is that we have what we call the fundamentalism or fundamentalist feminists or radical feminists who have a different perception of looking at things, and they think that now that these men have hurt us for so long, then it's their time now that we need to behave in a certain way. And I think I wish next time we can talk about feminism, because we've had also different types of feminism. Actually, it's called the different waves of feminism. In the early 1919, during the International Labour Organization, we were talking about the wave, the civil rights. Then in the 50s, after the World War II, we were talking about that inclusion. Lately, we are talking about that leaving no one behind. So there've been different waves of feminism, and each one of them speaks to just the fact that we need to empower people to be able to realize. And I've said this in so many, not in so many words, but I've repeatedly, like a broken record, I've said people should realize their potential, people should thrive in the society. And then I think the network problem, I don't know the direction Moses was taking by saying if children are raised by single parents, especially women, they tend not to get, I believe he started by saying somehow when the male figure is lacking, there's a certain level of problem. And I think those are just but notions, or I can call them opinions. And a lot of people in the society are opinionated, meaning they subscribe to those perceptions and stereotypes that are not really true. I believe women can raise children right. I believe, given the time, given the space, believability, they can raise their children right. Now, finally, I don't know whether I'm making my final submission. What I need us to do is that we need more bystander action. Don't see something happening and you do nothing about it. Unasema, as long as hainihusu, mimi sitafanya anything. So we need bystander action. Everything that happens in the society affects you. If not now, it will catch up with you in the future. So we need to work and address those issues. If you see somebody saying, becoming sexist and saying very sexist remarks in a matatu when you're traveling, call them out. But as you do that, remember, usalama wako ni wajibu wako. Your safety is your responsibility. Look at your environment and whether you are safe, and then you can raise that. If you are shout it up, because this world is going down not because of so many of us who are making noise, but because of so many of us who are silent and are doing nothing about the issues that are affecting us as human beings. And therefore, bystander action is key. And in the event that somebody is a victim of or is suffering mental health issues, suffering as a result of being violated based on sexual and gender-based violence, they need our support. Therefore, we need survivor support. We need survivor support as number 2. And lastly, number 3, we need perpetrator accountability, uwajibikaji. Kwa sababu kama taifa mara nyingi, we blame the victim and we forget about the perpetrator. We let the perpetrator go scot-free. Yeah, and therefore it's high time that we need to address issues of perpetrator accountability. And I believe, colleagues, if you want to transform this world, if you want to make this world a better place for all of us to live in, for your children and for the next generation, for the generations to come, then it starts with you. Change your attitude, change the way you do certain things. So it's about knowledge, attitude, and practice. But at the bottom line is our attitude. If we can change that, we can create the new norm where we believe that a man can do certain things, a woman can do certain things, and together we can work together collectively to create a world that all of us can thrive, grow, and realize our potential. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Philip, for that very good input. I believe most of us have learned a lot. I know many people do not understand aspects of gender and stuff, but I think now from this session, we may understand more about gender. And as you proposed, I believe we can organize for another session, probably on feminism, as you suggested, so that you can understand it more. And also what I'll just like to point out is that let's take the way forward home. And yeah, let's not be bystanders. I like that so much. So this is to thank everyone that joined the conversation. Thank you so much for your inputs, for your questions. And Philip, thank you so much for coming to join us. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, people, and please, much appreciated. And I can just promise that should and when I'm needed to give my 2 cents on any issue, topical issues that you may want us to discuss, I'll be more than willing to do that. I wish you all the best, and do have a pleasant night. Bye.
Thank you, people.
Okay.